Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Hyrule Chronicles: Legend of Zelda Dungeons and Dragons campaign. I am Articulate T, the Game Master, and with me, as always, in this 77th episode of the game, I have Renji Vox, being played by the Nether Lad.
Good evening to all, and thank you for joining us.
I have Hikan Sio, being played by Avrdal.
Hello.
I have Zayden Shari, being played by Robopirate.
Hello there.
And I have Max, being played by Keistrith.
Hello.
So, friends, I know it's been a while, but what happened last time?
So, after dealing with the dead hand in the basement of the cathedral on the Undead Island, we got the painting or mural that was up there. We got a copy of that. We had some discussions in regards to the history and the lore of some of the stuff, some speculation thrown around there, before we decided to go up and try to figure out how to get those orbs back to Castletown. Zayden figured out that he could grab them by turning into a water elemental and kind of push them along, which would save us a decent amount of time from running back and forth. And between being a water elemental, filling the boat with it, and having Zayden drive the boat in his water elemental form, and Hikan run to the ship ahead of them, they made it to the ship and began sailing back towards the mainland of Hyrule. On the way there, Renji got to know some of the crew a bit better, did some book recommendations before they gave Astrid specifically the information for the Company of D that she was looking for, and yet still was unable to reach Nihilus during his time. At the same time, or shortly after that, rather, when we awoke after a little bit, all of us had some form of strange injuries that made some of us unable to get a full night's worth of rest. And during exhaustion, some tempers were a bit short. Renji and Mara had a bit of a moment, while the sleuthing skills of Max found and eliminated the culprit, at least the one that we knew of. And so while Renji is cooling off and figuring out some of the or processing some of the things that he and Mara talked about, the rest of the party is scouring the ship, making sure that there are no more of these necrotic elementals that will drain the life force of the crew.
Okay.
Can I go to bed? I want to get my exhaustion over and done with.
Yeah,
Look, we told you to go to bed. You wanted to talk to Mara, so...
Yeah.
Fine.
I believe I was literally tearing the boat apart and repairing it as I was going.
Yeah.
Believe you were, yes.
And I was whacking boxes with a stick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tried and true method of, I think there's a thing in here. I'm just gonna startle it briefly.
Meanwhile, I'm just there dismantling a boat.
There is that. Yes.
So we return to our party, having spent a disproportionate amount of time that following day searching the boat top to bottom once again, making sure there are no other hazardous pests on board. Thankfully, through your own passive abilities and just generally just carrying on as you are, you do manage to conclude with 90%, with being 90% sure that there are no more of these necrotic scarabs that are on the ship. It appears to have been only the one. Though a rather accurate suggestion is made at least by a few members of the crew, that maybe keeping watch for at least a night or two just to make doubly sure would be a good idea.
I was going to suggest that Zayden the next day would probably prepare locate creature and use that for further scouting.
Okay. That's fine.
I am in favor of all these ideas except for the fact that I can't voice it because I'm sleepy.
Yeah. So you spend some time afterwards just kind of relaxing on the ship. And after the searching is done, or at least to the point where everyone kind of agrees we've done as much as we can at this point. It's not a terribly big ship, and we've searched every box, we've searched every deck, we've searched every possible piece of loose clothing that it might hide in, that sort of thing. We can't seem to find any more. There's at least a few hours before sunset that allows people to carry on with their work and do what needs to be done in order to just assure that the boat still remains afloat and on the move. In between keeping a vigilant eye for pests, what is everybody up to during the rest of their journey? What is there? Do they have any plans that they want to act upon?
How many days will it take to get back to Sarkosa from where we are?
Probably take at least a little over a week.
Oh dear. My closed caption does not like Sarkosa. It is psychosis or sarcoidosis. Oof.
Neither of those
what I
sound
meant.
like a fun time.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. So I will refer to that city as that port town. Like with like the moment I feel myself again, I will return to my duties as adjutant navigator.
Okay. Yeah. The essentially, like, as expected, after spending a long rest, just kind of relaxing as best you can, you do feel the effects go away. Thankfully for us. Oh, what was that?
Oh, was that me?
I don't know. Anyway,
I said yay.
It's a miscellaneous noise, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, anyway, you do feel that you've managed to get your energy back. You don't feel exhausted anymore, thankfully. And much the same can be said for the rest of the crew who were afflicted by this curse that this creature had inflicted upon you.
Right.
And so within like a couple of days, journeying has more or less become back into full swing, if a bit more cautious to remain as vigilant as possible. It's honestly a pleasant trip, and the weather has been agreeable. And while the wind hasn't been at the back, like going into your sails as you would hope in order to make the journey go faster, at the very least it isn't against you. So that is certainly something. But yeah, you return to your duties as a student navigator, and Astrid is more than happy to continue having your assistance and teaching you as best she possibly can while in the midst of doing a job to help with navigation and checking on supplies and all that kind of stuff, as is her station.
How far do you think like those skills have progressed? It's more that I'm able to assist her, or is it that I would be able to do what she's doing, but I would need like supervision?
It's a mix of both. You theorize in an esoteric sense. You will probably have proficiency with the tools of a navigator by the time the trip is over.
Fair enough. It's exactly what I wanted.
Yay.
Learning on the job.
Yay!
But yeah. But yeah, you continue helping Astrid out, and she's thankful for the help, and it's honestly, it makes the whole thing much easier. What is everyone else up to?
Hikan's routine hasn't really changed that much. He definitely volunteers for the first watch for everyone, explaining that most of the party doesn't need as much rest as everyone else for the few days, and he'll keep that up actually the entire time, using the extra 4 hours to wander around the ship, making sure everyone's okay. But other than that, he checks on everyone, makes sure everything's good. Does his sparring, does his going through the Book of Mudora.
Interesting. Okay. But yeah. Truth be told, after once again getting back into the routine of things, it's your duties as ship's cook doesn't really get in the way of all your other tasks. You probably have noticed by now that the bobbing and weaving of the ship as it moves through the waves has helped somewhat in refining your balance. And there's and reading through the Book of Mudora as well has been incredibly helpful too. There's it's a bit, admittedly, there's an aspect to the Book of Mudora where it feels a bit scatterbrained. It's an old.
No wonder I'm doing well with it.
It's an old tome, so it's possible that the way it was written and the way it was organized, it wasn't something that is based in chronological order. It's not something that's based terribly in regards to organized things based on type. It's literally, here is a thing, here is an ancient device and or artifact and or piece of history or nature that and here's as much information about it as it can possibly write down. Move on to the next thing, regardless of whether or not it had anything to do with the previous thing. So it's you managed to find the pages that describe the functions of the 3 medallions that you are hunting for. The idea that while each of these medallions by themselves are incredibly powerful, they still do require a divine item or artifact or device or something along those lines. Something that has origins with the gods themselves or of an equivalent function in order to focus that power in a way that doesn't immediately harm yourself. But otherwise, they're still items of great power and focus, and you are able to, and you believe, perhaps with some practice, some tangible amount of thinking both in and outside of the box, that using the medallions might mean that instead of just expelling the power that is within it in one go, you could, with some time and dedication, manifest other effects from it. You could manifest smaller, more specific effects. Though that may take some time and concentration. That could take a long while, but it might be something worth experimenting with in the future.
Yeah, especially because we're kind of on a boat, and I have the one that makes things shake, which would not be a good idea to experiment with right now.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe.
With that being said, since it does make mention of certain artifacts, obviously, I'm not going to get the Sword of Evil's Bane, but does it lead to hints or suggestions of other artifacts that might be helpful that we might be able to find a clue to or anything like that?
Well, it mentions that it makes mention of a few items that have been really kind of like a couple of things that have been man-made, a couple of things that have been supposedly found. Like, for example, among the man-made ones are a trio of items that had items and magical effects that describe three spellcasters, two of which are incredibly powerful and one of which is kind of middling, but is otherwise still fairly strong, at least enough to make a name for himself. So one of the the three spell casters that it describes would be the Arch Wizard known as Samaria, the Archbishop known as Birna, and something of a sorcerer by the name of Paki. And each of them have been known to wield items of significant power. And conversely have also been able to create spells of their own, albeit with various differing effects. The unfortunate factor is that the book doesn't really detail what happened to the three of them. It just notes that they existed.
That is still good to know.
Out of character, I always read that as Pachi.
Probably is Pachi. I've only ever seen it. That's the thing about most old Zelda names, is that I've only ever seen them written down.
There, that's completely fair. There's a Cane of Pachi, right?
Yeah, Cane of Pachi, Cane of Samaria, Cane of Birna.
Let's see if I can find the original Japanese. Pachi, not Tsue. So, Pachi.
Pachi. Okay. Awesome.
But don't let that stop you.
But yeah. Besides that, there's like a list of very kind of weirdly esoteric spells that the book mentions. Only a couple of which are actually described in enough detail where an academic spellcaster of sorts may be able to learn them. But otherwise, there's it's mostly just
which we have zero.
Which you have zero.
But
I can help.
Someone that likes to do we know someone that's after money and things could be used as a trade thing. Copy this ancient esoteric spell from this book. Give us items.
Oh dear.
Are we going to license these spells?
Hikan will not license these spells unless it's suggested to him.
Gonna copy his trick. You're just gonna demand royalties for the use of this spell from here on out. Oh,
it's been done in this world before, so why not?
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, most of the other devices or artifacts that have been found in the book seem to detail things that are relatively immobile. Ones that are large and complicated, and some of the other items within it are meant to act something akin to what's the word? Something akin to keys to unlock things. But yeah. Specifically speaking, the spells that you manage to find within the actual within the book are dubbed as follows. You find a spell, or let's see, the three spells noted as by the actual big spellcasters. There's Pachi's Inverted World, Samaria's Exploding Blockade, Birna's Zone of Armistice, spell known simply as Shout and Grasping Guardian. Those are the 5 spells that you that are named within the book. Yeah, as for magical items, other than the medallions themselves, a little bit of text in regards to the Sword of Evil's Bane. There's really not much else that you can grasp, at least during the trip. Like, names are missing, and there's also like descriptions that specifically say, yes, well, you have to go to this specific area and do this specific thing in order to find this thing, and when you do find this thing, really what it does is this X and Y, and it's just like, it doesn't seem immediately as helpful, but worth taking a note of. But then again, the Book of Medora is a very thick tome, so it's there's a lot of stuff in there that might still be discerned. Okay. Max or Zayden, what have you been doing during this trip?
In between dismantling the boat, Max has been continuing to focus on trying to have his magic not be mean to him.
Yeah.
You've been ship of Theseusing the ship?
I put it back together, it's fine.
That's the whole thing about the ship of Theseus.
Put it back together with its own bits.
Okay, does mending make new wood?
No. I'm repairing what was already there.
Yeah. Stitches broken wood back together.
But
yeah, you so in the midst of this travel, in which you effectively tactically tervestigate the ship, you spend some time trying to get more of a focus upon your magic, to get it under control and to have it not lash out as often as it does. And while the last time you did this, you managed to get some level of progress. Give me a wisdom saving throw.
Wisdom save?
Yes, please.
Is this helping Max with breathing exercises?
I am nearby for some unexplained reason.
Are you sure you want to be nearby?
I'm sure I want to be nearby.
I am your friend, I hope?
It's less to do with that, and I think it's more to do with the fact that out of the two of us, one of us can dodge lightning bolts.
I can take half
I
damage.
cast Revivify.
It's fine, I'll only blow a hole in the boat and we'll all drown, it's fine.
No, see, like, if Max stops my heart, he can just use Shocking Grasp again.
Yeah. Yeah, 8.
Okay. So with an 8, you don't destroy anything. But you find that maybe it's the slightly added level of paranoia that comes from such a creature as the necrotic scarab that has set you on edge.
Or maybe it was the news that Reggie's dad has gone missing near where my kidnapper was.
Yep, that's entirely possible too. You find yourself kind of unable to really concentrate, but you manage to catch yourself before you find yourself falling into a spiral of aggression and self-doubt that may cause your abilities to kind of flare up again. So you just kind of like after a couple of attempts, you put it to one side and attempt to focus on something else. But yeah, it doesn't. Sadly, no progress has been made. But yeah. And Zayden.
Can't really think of what Zayden would be doing. Maybe see if there's any books to read, or if he can catch the attention of any passing fish to see what the local sea gossip is.
Okay.
In between his medical duties, of course.
Yeah. Well, insofar as books, without managing to somehow convince Max to share the hoard a little bit, there is kind of a shortage of reading material on board. There's Astrid's book that she was reading that she finishes with a couple of days after the journey begins. But other than that, there's kind of a series of non-fiction textbooks that are on board the boat that haven't really done much in regards to like entertaining things, and chances are, depending on how much time you have to spare, you probably go through them quite quickly and find yourself without anything else to read. In regards to local sea gossip, local being a difficult word to quantify given ocean, but for the most part,
Lucy, tell me your secrets.
Spill the tea.
you know what? Give me a charisma-based investigation check.
Oh yeah.
It's all coming
+2.
together now.
Oh
yeah.
An advantage somehow.
I see.
I can help.
Oh, I'll have an
No, I
advantage.
can't. I have no idea how to help.
No, you could actually help, because you could basically act as a go-between of how to talk with individuals. Do the social thing.
I don't think talking to people is the same as talking to a porpoise.
Yeah, like my help has no purpose.
God damn it. Oh no.
How much pun damage will that be?
I don't know, I've lost track.
Fair
Tiamat
enough.
takes another step closer to Hyrule.
Yeah.
It's also the harvester itself.
Yeah. So it's difficult to get much helpful information out of whatever surface fish or other life forms that are near the surface of the ocean are able to really communicate with you.
What I'm getting from that is you're saying I need to go down the deep ocean.
Potentially, but it is fairly deep.
That sounds like quite a talk.
It's up to you if you want to dive overboard to speak with fish.
Yes. I can speak Zoran. I doubt that'll help.
Is
This
it
is really just-
racist to say that Zoran speak fish?
I think so.
Well, first off, we have to decide if it's River Zora or Sea Zora, because they might not understand the accent.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I'm sorry.
Oh dear.
I suppose there's no real depth limit to what I could go as a water element.
Yeah, I'd say a water elemental is suitably immune to the crushing depths of deep sea.
So first I'll just inform my compatriots that I'm off for a swim. And then, whilst they're bewildered enough about what, jump into the ocean. And turn into a water elemental.
Okay.
I should go find some deep sea fish to talk with.
Okay. give me let's see, as a moon druid you can cast spells while underwater, right? Or like while wild shape, sorry, at this level at least.
No, that's still like level 20 or 18 or something.
Oh Jesus.
You just cast it before I go in the water.
Yeah. But yeah, you go down in order to speak to some of the deeper sea creatures. Give me another charisma investigation.
22.
That's better.
Ooh,
Okay.
that's some deep sea creatures, deep secrets.
Yes, it is. Well, from what you can gather from what the deep sea creatures are able to tell you, is that there is, or there was at the very least, another ship, or like a while ago, as they say a while ago, there are, well, they make mention that there are a lot of ships that have sunk in this general area. That is to say that they've just noticed that this kind of area, at the very least on the very bottom of the ocean, is something of a ship graveyard. The actual variety of ships they can't really describe, because as fish they don't really have much of a way of describing it accurately. They just note that there's a variety of big boats and small boats, and a lot of people have died in either case. The most recent of them being a couple of months ago. And if pressed for details in order to describe the ship themselves, when they get to like the flag and the ornamentation of it, they note iconography that is consistent with the Fairwind Trading Company, which is to say that it might have been, because I think there was mention of of one or two things that Fairwind was hoping to send expedition teams out to. That ship may have been one of them. But there's also other ships there. There appears to be a slightly smaller ship in which most of the dead crew members appear to have still been on board when it went down, as opposed to what typically happens, which is like the ship sinks and then that's eventually followed by people on it. But this one in particular, every single it appears to be that every single person on that ship had possibly died beforehand. There's a variety of details that come with that ship graveyard by the time either the spell runs out or you have to flee back to the surface before your wild shape runs out again. But
I think I've got a lot longer on wild shape than I do on the spell.
Yeah. But for the most part, it's a series of haphazard information that they can offer. So by the time the ship gets there, if you wanted to investigate further, you do have a point to investigate there, but otherwise they don't really offer much else in that regard.
I'll head back up, let my companions know about the ship graveyard, and make plans to go investigate down there once we get closer.
Okay.
Now, when Zayden says that this area is a ship graveyard, what kind of shape is the ship graveyard? Is it a triangle?
3 of them, actually.
Oh.
Is sadly not that variety, or it's not as neatly organized, this ship graveyard. It is
Fair enough.
It is just seemingly like, as Zayden describes it when he comes back up, it seems that it might be that fish being fish, they don't really have much in the way of pattern recognition, but it could be that it's like From the sounds of it, it's just coincidentally this is where a lot of ships sink.
Hmm.
Like, it's just a particularly hazardous part of the sea, which is odd because, like, the reef of spikes that you went through during the fog is to the south. You know that much.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So it might just be that battles were waged there, or the weather was particularly bad in that particular spot, that sort of thing. It's just it is a uniquely interesting scenario.
Fair enough.
But yeah, so you with that discussed and revealed into, you make your way further down through along the ocean in order to get back to town. A few days pass by the time you get to that area where Zayden, like roughly above that area where Zayden explains that the ship graveyard should be. Do you wish to dive in and investigate, or do you wish to pass it by?
I probably would have organised with the captain, letting him know it was here. And just as a precaution anyway, was going to dive in to make sure there isn't, like, something damaging the ships. So in either case, I'd be diving in.
Okay. So, as you explain that, Bainswood gives the order for half sail. Just to slow down a bit, to give you an extra bit of time in order to investigate things while still on the move. As you dive down, you have a look. You see quite clearly that there's somewhere in the region of 12 to 15 separate ships, all clustered in this little area. Again, like at least as an initial glance, there's no kind of realistic pattern as to what is down here. Like, they haven't fallen in a specific way. They're not all pointing in the same direction. They just appear to be. This just appears to be a particular spot where ships go to die. But it's but what you do recognize is you do see the galleon that supposedly belonged to the Fairwind Trading Company that that seems to have been ravaged by a significant amount of what you think to be cannon fire. Like, you've got 5 hours worth of wild shape at this point, so I would assume that you probably have enough time to take 10 on your investigations in order to try and, like, discern things.
Well, as it refreshes on a short rest, I can basically stay permanently in it, I think.
Yeah.
Also,
yeah.
may I make a slight point of order?
Mm-hmm.
I think Renji would, like, if he knew that this was coming up, he would have cast Armor of Agathis on himself like half an hour before we would, like, go over it, and then he'd take a short rest.
Okay. All right. So you yeah, as you continue, like, swimming and moving through this this particular area of ocean, you note that you do find the smaller ship, appears to be a brigantine, that all the crew members on board are still on board. What's your medicine? Your medicine is 20. You can recognize this immediately.
Oh wow.
It appears that they may well have attacked each other.
Oh. Would I be thinking, like, sirens type thing?
I wouldn't have said sirens. Chiefly, like, none of the fish had mentioned sirens within this particular area of ocean. But you just note that as you go through, you can see that one of them, much like the Sheikah on the Sealed Isle, has been stabbed and pinned to one of the walls of the ship. Another one appears to have suffered significant blunt force trauma before their death. Another appears to have been pinned against another wall with one of the cannons on board. A third is a fair few of them have been shot. at least this is what you can tell at an initial glance. It's been a while since these fellas were here, so it's possible that like a lot of the bloating and water logged stuff that usually comes with submerged corpses kind of like has marred your investigations a bit. One thing of note, however, is that there is a shipping manifest that you managed to find within the captain's quarters, and there's also a section of the galley that has been effectively cordoned off. Like there's or the hold rather. So you've got like boxes and stuff where normal supplies are kept, and then there is a door, like a wrought iron door, of which is slightly ajar, and you can see like along the floor of the ship, as on an angle as it is, you can see that there is a chain that has been broken. Inside, like slid against one of the walls, is a crate which is empty. It appears to be roughly 5 by 5 on each side. There's as you investigate a bit more, you note that there is at least one rowboat missing from this ship, and as you kind of think on it a bit more, with your equally impressive insight, as well as the little bit of expeditions that you've already been going on, this must have been the ship that had acquired supposedly the Black Orb from the Sealed Isle. It's entirely possible that the crew went mad fighting over the treasure at this point, before irreversible damage was done to the ship. There is like a single but sizable hole in the hull at the very bottom of the deck, and then the 1 or 2 remaining crew members took the last rowboat with their treasure and then rowed possibly all the way back as far as they could. Ultimately, this must mean that they successfully got back to Hyrule, because then the orb was brought to the Echo of Hylia, shattered, and made into, well, what it was when you guys found it.
Okay. And so I've got a shipping manifest, you say?
Mhm.
So, I suppose amongst the ship graveyard, is there any other interesting or valuable items?
Give me a perception check, and if you get more than a
Natural 20, so for 30 total.
I'll be back in a second. I just need to grab my DM's guide. Tables, there. Tables. Okay. Roll for me a D4, and again.
4, 1.
Okay, and then roll for me a D100 and a D100.
10 and 75.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. I have to open up my player's handbook. Actually, you know what I can do? This one.
DM has to consult multiple books.
I do.
Oh no.
Okay, so
holding the session.
you find the first item you find appears to be a very ornately adorned glass bottle, which appears to have a what was it? A sparkling red liquid in it. And the other thing you find is a Despite it being down here for so long, you find a scroll tube that looks almost unharmed.
Okay. With these 2 items and the ledger and the information, Poseidon will come back up upon deck.
Did Poseidon just find a message and a bottle?
Sadly, they hadn't been put together.
I don't think you should put.
That's why I say message and instead of message in.
I don't think you should put in the bottle until the bottle's been emptied.
I think Poseidon just found some very good wine.
I'm not sure why normally.
I'll be the judge of that.
I think champagne is
know.
more likely to. I think champagne is more likely to sparkle with the bubbles.
Yeah, judging by the contents of the bottle and the pristine condition of the scroll tube, you don't need an Arcana check to know whether or not these are magic. However, to know whether or not what they actually do will require alternative methods of investigating.
I can help. I think.
Like
Poseidon
the use
will.
of an identify spell, probably.
Poseidon will catch his compatriots up on the fact there doesn't seem to be like any great big rocks knocking people off down there, and there does seem to be this particular ship, and that particular orb there. And then we'll take these fancy items and figure we'll have to go see a certain somebody about to identify.
Sebastian.
Oh dear. Okay. Well, if you give Mara enough time, she'll at least be able to tell you what the potion does. Spell scroll is a different story.
I'll hand them to her.
Okay. So, after about a day's worth of inspecting and everything, she kind of comes back to you and says, okay, this is really valuable. So this is a potion of supreme healing.
Oh.
It's like the biggest you can get. For those who don't know, that is 10d4 plus 20 worth of healing.
Oh.
Nice.
It is the biggest.
That's
potion.
not bad. That is not bad at all.
Mm. As for the scroll, she can't help you with that.
We have a nuclear option.
Ask it and find out.
Oh, no, I was talking about with the supreme healing potion. Assuming I survive the Quake medallion. I can drink that and be okay.
Yeah, probably.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
If it's a spell scroll, is that, or would it not be a spell scroll? I thought you'd be able to identify them if it's a spell that you can pass.
I don't think it'll work for me.
Let's see. I'm not sure. Like, I would assume that, to be honest, like with the
I think you could just like read it and see what it does.
yeah.
That's
Don't read it out
possible.
loud.
Yep.
Just look at it.
Open it up, the title, you know, like Ray
Yeah.
of Frost at the very beginning.
Shocking grasp.
So you read the spell. According to the instructions, it requires you to point your finger at a creature, and it has no verbal component to it, but it fires a shimmering bolt of golden energy. You make a ranged spell attack against one creature within range. On a hit, the spell deals 3d6 radiant damage. After the initial target, you make another attack roll against a different creature that is within 30 feet of the first. Reduce the damage by 1d6 for each target after the first, and the arrow cannot hit a creature that has already been struck by the spell. If any spell attack misses, has no viable target in range, or the number of dice is reduced to 0, the spell ends.
Does this sound familiar?
Is this
This
written in
does sound
Uriel's
familiar.
handwriting?
It is written in Uriel's handwriting.
Ah,
You found a
Yeah.
scroll of Uriel's golden arrow.
Hey.
neat.
Does that mean this? Because you don't use material components for scrolls, so it's prepaid?
Assumedly, like, it's effectively prepaid. It is a prepaid voucher for 1 Uriel's golden arrow. But then if a wizard
Wonderful.
adds it to their spellbook, then it's just like, oh well, I still have to pay 10 gold pieces per use because I've now added it to my spellbook.
Yes.
Fortunately, I don't think
Does,
you can cast it unless
it's
you are a
act-
wizard.
It's actually like a 3-foot-long scroll. The first paragraph explains what it does, and then the rest is the legalese. If you so happen to copy this into your spellbook, you are legally obligated to.
This spell is not guaranteed to work outside of the coverage area of Hyrule.
Yeah.
Maybe we should see if he wants to buy it back.
No refunds.
Spellcasts in this manner outside of Hyrule's borders will incur an additional conversion fee.
Yeah. Oh dear. But yeah. So the shipping manifest itself that you have found pretty much confirms what you have already found out. It was a ship that was meant to be going on an expeditionary journey towards the Sealed Isle. It got there. It found itself the treasures inside. However, the dangers on the island itself meant that really, when it came down to it, they could only really safely get away with grabbing the one orb. They got it back. On halfway back, they found that a couple members of the crew fell ill and died. And after some unfortunate situations, it appears, at least the author of this manifest is mentioning that the crew is now becoming very suspicious of each other, and that's where it kind of just stops.
I suppose we were lucky.
If it's broken, the magic might be gone. Everyone doesn't seem to be like looking at each other sideways, right?
No, they're like, everyone seems to be on the level.
Excellent.
Yeah. But yeah. So after successfully inspecting the ship graveyard, Lucio Bainswood would continue onwards. He'd say full sails, and just the ship carries on its merry way to Sarkoza Port Town, and you manage to arrive there with 0 hole-ups. Like the you can hear your Deku friend in the crow's nest crying out that you hear Pine shout "Land ho!" from up in the crow's nest, and everyone looks forward to see that you can see just over the horizon the shoreline of Hyrule, and you can see glimmering in the distance. You can see Sarkoza Port Town. It takes only a few moments upon arrival to actually get to an open dock. Lucio manages to safely line up the Sly Guppy along the port side and weigh anchor and begin preparations to disembark as a couple of Sarkoza's guard arrive at the dock in order to keep an eye on things as everyone disembarks. One of the guardsmen comes up to Lucio and says, welcome back. Just gonna need you to go through the usual paperwork. It's just a matter of doing this, and we'll pass it on to the harbour master. Though actually, you need to go speak to the harbour master as well. And Lucio's like, of course, I'll do this post haste. And he's like, he's sitting there doing whatever he can in order to make sure, like, in order to perhaps embellish the story of your journey outward.
I'm going to follow him. I'm not going to follow him invisibly. I'm going to follow him, and as I step off the boat, I am going to disguise myself as the tall, slender Hylian man that I've disguised myself as before, Lang.
Okay.
I'm not going to specifically spy on him. I'm going to spy on whoever is eavesdropping on this conversation, because I want nothing to get out about this expedition.
Okay.
Except for the people that really need to know it.
Well, let's see. So there is a reaction. Like, it's a case of, like, do you know that meme from of Dr. Doofenshmirtz, where it's like, if I had a nickel for every time this happened, I have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice.
Yes.
Yeah. So that it's kind of that level of thing where you get a reaction, but it's not as much as you were expecting. Like, it's still a reaction which is suspicious enough, but it's not a lot. And the reason why is that as you kind of as you keep an eye on Lucio, you note that you suddenly remember that Lucio's reputation among Sarkoza as being a bit of a blowhard and not really being credible as a pirate or a sailor or an adventurer or anything like that. People have, like, the immediate assumption to those who could probably hear him are likely going to be
he's just telling one of his stories.
Yeah, he's just telling lies again. It's just that's all he's doing. Like, it's clearly it wasn't as exciting as it possibly could be. But you do get a couple of people who are kind of listening in. But it's not so much a case of, like, hiding around a corner or doing anything suspicious in order to get as much information as possible. It's just kind of like a casually listening in to hear what the contents of this story is. And
what's going on over there?
Yeah. Lucio himself doesn't mention anything because really he doesn't know too much about the whole sort of sovereign hand, ancient darkness in the cave underneath anything sort of thing. He just knows. He basically has only internalized what has happened on the journey, which is you guys went out to sea, you went to an island full of Lizzlefoss and dinosaurs, and then you left there, you went north, you found another island, a bunch of ghosts turned up. They waited around.
Another crew.
They waited around for a day or so. You guys came back, and then you went and came home again. He is at least self-aware enough not to mention the treasure that you have acquired on said island.
Good.
Which, as we're getting ready to dock, Hikan will approach Roto, because I'm guessing we don't have a means to carry those 4 giant crystalline orbs.
Not by yourselves?
Yet.
Okay. Since I know that Roto's a trader, I'll ask if he's heading towards Castletown, or over to Death Mountain, and if not, if he knows where we could get a requisition a cart.
Okay.
Or multiple.
Yeah, so Roto kind of thinks about it and says, Well, I'm not sure. I mean, it would be nice to spend a bit more time on dry land, you know? So I could get back to Death Mountain. I could do a bit of trading back there. That would be a good idea. Did you need me to drop these things off, or you wanted to come with me on the way, or what?
I think we're heading straight back to Castletown, right? And I look for Renji, but Renji's gone.
There is a Renji-shaped space.
The Renji-shaped space between Zayden and Max. So then Hikan will look towards Zayden and Max. We didn't have anything else that we needed to do elsewhere, right?
Pretty sure we need to get moving fast if Renji's dad's in trouble.
Okay.
Yeah.
So go to Castletown, report what we found, and then head to Death Mountain after that.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, I think we'd be heading out pretty quickly.
Okay.
Miss.
Well, let me, give me about, half a day or so. We'll relax a bit, we'll get used to being back on dry land after a couple weeks at sea. We'll just have some food. Maybe if it gets too late, we'll have a rest, and then, whenever we're capable, I'll ask around town, see if the local traders need anything going back to Hyrule Castle. We'll get ourselves a cart, and then we'll make our way.
Okay. Thank you.
When Captain Bainsword comes back to the ship, I will kind of like walk behind him and then shift back into my normal appearance. Has anyone left the ship yet? Beyond the two of us?
No.
Good, because they need to get paid.
That they do.
Now, I don't know anymore how much we had agreed upon.
Is it 300 per head?
300 per head? What? No!
I think it was a certain amount of gold per day.
Yeah. I believe, like, I can remember something like 800 or 1100 for the entire crew, for the entire duration.
Might have been 1200 because there's 12 people.
Yeah, I think it was 100 each.
Fair enough. I don't mind that.
Max is going to pay 1,000 of that because he has way too much money. He hasn't been buying much.
Okay. I can put down 200.
Yeah, that's done then.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
You have successfully paid your crew.
And I will say to everyone that they've done exemplary work, and that it was an honor to sail with them. And I will probably talk with Astrid a little bit more, and thank her for all of her like guidance and education when it comes to navigation.
Yeah. Astrid, in turn, will thank you kindly for providing the being helpful in providing more information on what happened to Donatash and the rest of the Company of D. She'll probably be spending a bit more time in Sarkoza for like a couple of days before making her way back to Zora's domain. But yeah, she thank you kindly for your assistance, and for allowing her on the journey in turn. Yeah. Bruno, interestingly, comes up to at least one of you, depending on who's more talkative to Bruno.
Well, I know who it's not gonna be.
I'm probably still with the money given to me by Max, I will be the one giving each their fair share. I still believe that the 100 gold was a little higher than we had originally agreed upon, but I'm not.
To be fair, one of them fucking died.
Yeah.
That is true.
We'll count that as we'll count that as part of the insurance. It's fine.
No. I think we need to pay that to the widow or the family.
No, he got better.
Okay, now he got better.
Oh, right. Yes, okay, he died and he came back. That's okay, yeah.
I specifically revived him so he didn't have to pay hazard.
That is true. There was no payment of insurance because he was fine afterwards. That was it.
Yeah, if it's a little high, it's closer to yeah, we didn't expect ghosts. We're sorry. Here's some compensation for that.
Ghost money. Ghost pay.
I just imagine that being on the receipt. Just like
an extra 50 gold. Why? Ghosts.
5 gold for time, 10 gold for labor, 100 gold for ghosts. And it's just but yes.
He's haunted. What?
Hikan will squint, but if Bruno approaches, he will not drive him away. So I think that it's Hikan and Zaiden are the most likely to talk to Bruno.
Yeah.
I'm fine to talk with Bruno.
Bruno just kind of says, she says like, well, thank you. At the very least, for giving me some semblance of a chance. I was not expecting this sort of thing. I can totally understand why you might be doing what you're doing and why you have been given what you've been given. Because ghosts, but it's we don't have to be amiable about it. Like, so long as I can keep finding work around here, then that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But
look, Bruno, you've done your job. The job we've hired you for. That's what the payment's for.
Yeah.
I hope you can find some people that will give you the opportunity that we've afforded you.
Mm-hmm.
I think you will.
Thanks. That's real polite of you.
Now, if you do get in trouble ever again, we will find you.
I don't doubt it. I do not doubt it. I mean, from what I have seen, again, yeah, it's not a risk that I would be willing to take.
No, the things that we've been through between you meeting us for the first time and this, yeah, you've not seen anything yet.
Uh-huh. Well, I am going to go and look for some more work.
Sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
If you want something a little more stable, I don't know if the person that owns the pet shop down over yonder might need some help.
Maybe.
That's actually a good idea.
Shall we go introduce him?
Sure, if you want to.
Come along then, and we'll head to the pet shop with him. He's willing to come.
Okay. You take him to the.
We have to go over there anyway because we have to go to Zephyr's favor and be like, yeah, you can go trade now.
Here's your ship back.
It's...
We can't say it's the same ship as it was previously.
If you replace the head of a mop and then later replace the handle, is it the same mop? No.
Exactly that.
Yeah. So the you take Bruno over to Flamgo's pet shop. Flamgo is happy to see you, and after some level of discussion, he is willing to give Bruno a shot. After all, he is a Wizrobe, and he put most of his developmental aspects into his mind rather than his body. So having someone who's capable of physically lifting heavy crates and everything would be incredibly useful. But yeah, so it's impressive to me that, like, if this happens again, if you find another NPC that was a criminal and direct him here, you've just got a side business of rehabilitating criminals via pet shop.
That is the best idea.
Can we think of any other criminals who need a job?
If we ever find what's his name? The Moblin, not Thief Sealer. But the one with
Gorspire?
Yeah, Gorspire.
Gorspire's going to be lucky to survive that encounter. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Oh, definitely. But if Gorspire ever gets out of that, like the no doubt group of bokoblins and stuff that he's gathered, we'll just like put them to like honest work. And then, after a while, talk to them about unionizing.
Hello, I'm Flamgo, and welcome to Repent Smart, where former criminals give you the pet of your dreams. Oh dear. But yeah, so Bruno is cautious because Flamgo, but otherwise he's willing to give this a shot at the very least. And you leave the two of them. To discuss the terms of employment and whatnot. Flamgo offhandedly mentions that business has been fine. He's been.
That's good.
Yeah, it has been relatively quiet in Sarkoza as of late. But then again, he's not complaining, and like he promises continuously that he's not doing anything in regards to adding pets that are of a non-normal nature.
Nothing in the category monstrosity or aberration or. Yeah. Okay, good.
Just a beast, or a question mark in the case of cuckoos, but otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, I would say cuckoos are definitely aberrations.
No, they're not.
Yeah,
yes, they are.
Because you know what aberrations are. You don't know what a cuckoo is.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah. Cuckoos are the only monster in my folder of monsters under the thing, question mark.
Cuckoos are what aberrations fear.
Yeah.
That's why they can't die and why they just cause cuckoo storms, because if they die and some of them go to the hells, it'll put the blood war in a very, very lopsided.
The cuckoos will win the blood war.
Yeah.
That reminds me of a phenomenon in Dwarf Fortress called the cat apocalypse.
Yep. It's like that, but chickens.
Yeah.
I appreciate that you know what that is. Or at least pretend to.
I'll have to look it up after the session. Then.
I shall neither confirm nor deny if I know what that is.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah. So, upon leaving them to deal with their business, you go and check in with Rayburn. As you enter, the receptionist bids you a moment to wait for a spell as they go and get Rayburn, and they come back moments later, and the Caesar head of the Zephyr's Favor Trading Company, Kalish Rayburn, comes down the stairs and he says, excellent, you have returned. I trust that he kind of like pauses a moment as he looks over your number and then says, I trust that your companions are elsewhere.
Yeah, and they are in good health.
Good. I can only assume then that your expedition was something of a success.
Something. That's definitely the word, I would say. The ship is fine. We just need to make sure that it's unloaded, and then you'll be able to make use of it again.
How was the as per the terms of the agreement, how was either acquiring various treasures or performing diplomatic duty with the Lizzlefoss on the island go?
I believe we've made some progress as to the latter.
Perfect. That is incredibly good to hear. In that case,
they are a curious culture. I'm not sure if you've any experience with them.
No, not any personal experience.
They see life as a challenge, and as such, I believe that trade negotiations should best be approached as such as well.
Well, that is interesting. I shall keep that in mind. I'll put it towards any further tactical plan in regards to trade with such a culture. After all, want to at best create a rapport, and if they seek challenge, then we shall give them a challenge as per their want. So, with that being said, with your expedition over and your additional responsibilities and success, I can only imagine then that the Sly Guppy then falls back into our possession.
Indeed.
Yes. Of course, I will need
again. We just need to unload it. There is some stuff that will be for other use, but I believe we won't be staying in town for very long.
Very well. I suppose then that yes, we will. I will wait until I have word from the harbour master that the ship has been returned to the dry dock for the moment. After all, we don't have much of a use for it. It is one of our spare ships, and we might as well not have it cluttering up space on the dock if it's not going to be in use. But we will wait for the rest of your supplies to be disembarked. And yes, do you still have a copy of the shipping manifest, or your crew manifest, as it were?
I believe I do have it. And Renji starts looking through his pouch, and I believe it does take an action to get it, so.
Okay. Well, on Rayburn's turn, he will take the...
We'll use his object interact.
Yeah.
However, I will use a reaction. No.
Just spell.
Oh god. He takes the manifest and looks over and says, so I assume every member of this crew is in fine and fit health and they have returned successfully to Sarkosa?
Well, one died, but he got better. And I have the biggest grin on my face.
Right. Well, so... I don't know.
Like, Renji's making a joke, and Hikan's looking earnest, like, yeah, one of them died. And got better.
Well, if they do...
Rest assured, with the payment arrangement, we did not have to pay out any insurance.
Good. That is an important prospect. The success of your mission and not having to pay out any appropriate insurance to your crew members, that does indeed mean that, at least within the realm of hearsay, the Zephyr's Favor have been able to make the accurate decision to employ trustworthy individuals and provide them with the appropriate equipment to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of specifically, I know that you are spoken for in terms of the realm of employment, as are your closest companions. But if any of the members of this manifest here deem themselves in need of a more long-term employment, we do have some positions open at the Zephyr's Favor. So, so we will pass a message along to them personally, but feel free to explain to them if you see them beforehand. Typically, it takes a couple of days for us to manage to get those letters written and sent away.
Right. I do believe that one of the crew has already found alternate employment.
Mm-hmm.
That is, and I point over to the manifest. Bruno here has found a position at what is Flamgo's full shop name?
I think it's just
I said
Flamgo's
earlier
Pet
it was-
Emporium.
Flamgo's
No,
Pet
it was-
Emporium.
What did you say?
Oh, Repent Smart.
Yeah, Repent Smart.
Yeah, it says, I see. Well, that is perfectly fine. If they find themselves not wanting to return to the high seas, that's perfectly fine.
Understandable.
But of course, the offer is still extended to the others that if they wish to continue their own employment.
That's quite right.
Well, I believe.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, for the use of your ship, and for the possible employment of this crew.
And thank you for furthering the company's aims. That's been most helpful of you. But yeah.
If you want to give them any details on the ships that we found.
Up to you. Like, he's the head of a trading company, so that information's probably better handed to the harbor master than anything else.
That might be a good idea to discuss that. Yes, definitely.
But yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna say to we're not gonna end the session, but we're gonna kind of speed through a couple of things. Rodo manages to secure a trading route with a cart that is heading through Hyrule Castle Town in order to make its way back to Death Mountain. It's headed by another Goron, so it'll be you and Rodo and this other Goron going back. In the process of this, as you're going around, Leona actually comes up to one member of the group and expresses her interest to join you on the way back to Hyrule Castle Town. She wants to. She found the ship journey an enlightening one and wants to head back to the main capital in order to make preparations to join the adventuring lifestyle like you guys are, though she'll be going her own separate way.
All right.
Yeah.
Hikan continues being a bad influence and definitely allows this.
Didn't we have talks about trying to set up our house in Castle Town as an adventuring guild?
Yes.
There was some talk about that, yes.
It was just expensive at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you'd get like a bonus if you set it up as a business, but then it would be like you'd still then have to maintain the place. Like at the moment, all you're doing with the house
We're
is...
kind of too busy traveling the world to look after it. Is the
Yeah.
problem?
So like with
We
the
have
house,
to hire people to do so, and
yeah,
Yes.
you'd have to hire a receptionist and
And like one of the main
people
draws would have
do
been us being there, but we're not there.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
But yeah. So Rodo does explain that, like, while he'll be able to see if he can talk to the other Goron into going effectively in the next few hours, said Goron would prefer to go the following morning if possible. Like, it's about late afternoon, early evening at this time.
I do want to make sure that the cart that we are loading these orbs in is covered, and basically as little people as possible see what is going on in there.
Okay. That's fine. Yeah. So Rodo will explain that you probably have to speak to the Goron who's utilizing that cart at the moment to get that sort of info.
Okay.
But yeah, while you're having this discussion, from amidst the crowd, you hear a person call out. Someone from Hi! And as you kind of look over, you see what appears to be a fairly tall, tan-skinned man in a white and red leotard with a red cap and a flag on his back. And he, like...
Are you running?
Yeah, he's running. He runs over to your group and stops and, like, catches his breath. Hello. Hyrule Royal Post here. I'm looking for a Hikan Sio.
close enough. That's me.
Okay. And he like looks into his bag and he pulls out a single letter. He hands it to you and says, "Here you go."
Okay.
But
Could you?
Bass is just staring at this guy and then it says, "How did you know he was here?"
It's part of our job.
That's not an answer.
It's much of an answer I can give you. Sorry.
I do want to know what kind of training they get.
Bax is just confused.
Yeah.
For people who are familiar with the Wheel of Time, all postmen are Taviran. That's the explanation. And Hikan pulls out the letter that he's been working on. It is a single sentence. It simply says, "The earth quakes where I walk," and he tells him to give it to the monastery.
Ah, excellent. Going back the other way. All right. That'll do. I guess that'll be 5 silver pieces for distance if possible.
I'll give him a gold piece.
Ah, excellent. Do you want the change?
No, it's okay, thank you.
Aye. He gives a salute and is like, "I'll be on my way then. Have a good evening." And he's like, runs off. Like, he's real quick. Just...
Once he's out of eyesight, Max just turns to Hikan like, "What the fuck just happened?"
Oh, I got a letter. I got one when we were... Were you outside the house at that time? Oh, I got one when we were at Castletown, too. It's just ways that we have to communicate through distance and stuff when you don't have magic. As a silence.
Smash is still just very confused.
As the silence goes on, Hikan just kind of nods and then looks at his letter.
Yeah, it is in documents. Whether or not you want to read it out is entirely your choice.
Okay. Okay, that is that one. Okay, I have 2 of them. Okay. Service to the crown, developing. Because there's the letter for Hikan, and then there's the letter from his master, so it's just kind of like, huh, I forget which one I got one of those.
It's the other one. The second one.
Okay. Create names Ghost by sent other students to find more information. Okay, so as he takes an ungodly amount of time to read through this, he goes, okay, they have people who are looking for Gorspire. Nothing's come back so far. But yeah, everything's going good. Hopefully we'll hear something about that, because he couldn't have that moment. That medallion. But there are other eyes that are looking.
Okay. So, having updated the Harbour Master, having spoken to Rayburn, given Bruno a new job, did you want to leave immediately, or did you want to have a rest for the night?
Do Gorons have dark vision?
Yes.
Okay, never mind that.
Well, didn't they say they wanted to go in the morning?
Yes.
So it's up to you guys.
I'm mostly just concerned about keeping information contained. So I'm with the card. I'm constantly glancing around to see if there's anyone like paying too much attention.
I roll a general insight to see if Renji's attracting attention by being on guard this much.
Sure.
Just kind of read the crowd. It's just kind of like, Renji, you need to settle down.
There.
Yeah.
25.
There are a couple of people who cast a glance over at the nervous-looking Renji, or at least, like, I suppose Renji would have enough skill in performance to be able to put on a show of, like, not necessarily being terribly spooked, but
A mix of performance and deception.
yeah, there's something of a glance in each direction to get a general idea on like what it is that the there's a couple of people who look over and kind of feel the nervous energy that comes from Renji being guarded, but not too many people notice.
All right.
Okay. Hikan will just kind of pat Renji's shoulder and goes, I know it's valuable. Like, in Sheikah and quietly, because there are people overhearing. But we can relax for a little bit. We can keep an eye on it. We can rest.
I appreciate that. It's just that you know what happened with the Black Orb.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want anyone to know about this, especially not like cultists.
We'll keep an eye on it, but doing it here isn't gonna... Staying at the Cardinal Lane isn't gonna be good for any of us, so we can take turns and do what we normally do.
Fair enough. Thank you. I'm probably going to sit somewhere.
I think that we'll rest for the night and then head out in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is that you guys go off to rest for the night. You say you're resting at the cart?
Where is the cart? Is it next to, like... Oh, what the heck was it? I can't remember Pines Inn or Thickets Inn. Sorry.
So the cart's original position would have been near the mainland entrance to Sarkoza, but if the objective was to get them to pick up the orbs that needed moving, then it probably would have moved itself to the dock to pick them up. Where it goes after that is more or less down to the discretion of the cart driver.
Right, so after we pick him up, would he go to the Thickets place, or would he go to a different inn? Because I'm sure that he wouldn't keep his stuff too far from him.
Yeah, he probably would have gone to Thickets Inn.
Okay. Then yeah, we can stay there and take turns watching, and we'll just head downstairs and watch at the cart since we have the 4-hour sleep cycle.
Okay. So you head to Thickets Inn, and as you get there, you open the door and you see Rodo sitting with another Goron. This one appears to have something of a beard and a wild head of hair. He kind of sits down and is just laughing uproariously at potentially a joke or an anecdote that you seem to have entirely missed out on. Rodo kind of looks over and smiles and says, "Ah, you made it! Come on in! Come on in!" And he like gestures you over.
Sit down.
The Goron says, "Okay, Chief, these are my companions, or friends, or however you want to refer yourselves to me. This is well, there's no really other way to introduce them. This is Darunia, and Darunia, this uproariously loud, happy Goron, kind of slams a fist down on him and says, "So, you're the guys that have been fighting ghosts out in the sea, huh? Sounds like a blast. It's nice to meet you."
Well, likewise. And as for fighting ghosts, it's really not as interesting. It's like sparring is much more fun.
It's like Renji's kind of putting it down. Hikan slams his fist on the table. It's like, yeah, I punched one!
I like it. Nothing better than a good fight and a good piece of music, I'd say. So, you're looking to have a bit of a cart journey on the way back to Hyrule Castletown, huh?
There's some heavy cargo we have to get there, yes.
Ah, I see. We picked up something that was wrapped up from one of the boats. I'm guessing that's what you were looking for. But that's fine. We can take care of that in the morning.
I'm glad I didn't push. Go tonight.
Of course. Still, it's been certainly didn't regret this trip out. Normally I'm cooped up at Death Mountain, but I managed to convince the others to let me come down here for a little bit of a trip to see if we can shift some of these bomb flowers and stuff for some of the more battle-ready ships that have been going in and out of the port town.
Right. I heard they only grow on Death Mountain.
That they do. We have more or less a monopoly on the whole trade of them. And they're a bit more, a bit easier to manufacture than normal gunpowder, that's for certain. But that's besides the point. I'm sure that after your long journey and dealing with all the paperwork and other business stuff you've had to do, you just want to relax, right?
Honestly, I don't feel in the relaxing mood just yet.
Of course. Well, that's fine. Do you all want a drink? Thicket! We need some more drinks out here. And Thicket from the other thing is like, "Okay, I'm coming." Cry out loud.
I feel for Thicket.
Oh,
What's at the table? Because I figured they're Gorons, so there might be Goron right at the table.
Yeah, there is plenty of Goron rot at the table. There's also a fine selection of both normal food and as well as various rocks and other minerals. Like there is a plate of 2 rock roasts, which basically are boulders, in a sense, that look like meat on a bone, but it's quite clear that they're rocks.
Are they? Are you sure? Have you bit one to test?
Would you like to? Do you
I will bite
value your
into it.
teeth?
No, I'm kidding.
After you. You were the one who suggested it.
If I turned into an earth elemental, I probably could.
That's cheating.
You probably could. You could also probably spook the rest of the patrons in Thickets Inn.
Yeah, don't
This just happens all the time. Don't worry about it.
be rude. Don't be rude.
But Hikan would like to sit down, and since there is Goron rot at the table, Hikan, knowing that his body feels a bit different, is going to is just going to casually pick up the bottle and drink straight from the bottle.
Oh dear. I'm just wondering if I can keep the fear off of my face.
Max has no idea what's going on.
That's right, Max hasn't seen Goron rot in action.
Oh, indeed.
I wasn't there when you did this last time.
Correct.
And you weren't there when Renji had it the first day that we played.
Yes.
Oh dear.
when I just collapsed because of a drink.
Yeah. So you take a big healthy swig of this bottle of Goron rot and you slam the bottle down, and Roto is looking like, what the fuck are you doing? And Darunia's got this big frigging grin on his face like, I really like this guy. But it's after a tense amount of time where you don't immediately collapse from the mixture of ultra heavy alcohol and sulfur that exists within this alcoholic drink, you kind of smile, and then Darunia just immediately bursts out laughing again, like that's amazing. And Rhoda's like, excuse me, you sure you're not part Goron, perhaps? What's up with that? That's normally enough to kill someone who isn't used to drinking actual sulfur.
Oh,
I can attest to that.
Yeah. I don't. So there are probably other people who train the same way that I do, who could probably handle some of this stuff. But it's kind of a learning your body thing. I guess it's hard to explain. You know that thing that I do sometimes to make people feel a little bit better? It's the same thing, but on the inside instead of on the outside.
Huh. Interesting. I like it. You got some good friends there, Roto. And Roto's like, that I do, brother. It's just, still surprise me sometimes, but it's fine.
Why is it surprising?
Well, to put it lightly, Goron rot is a specific alcoholic beverage that can only really be survived by Gorons. Because Gorons, we eat things that normally people wouldn't eat, like rocks. And because of that...
Hikan takes the bottle and points it to Max and just goes, smell.
No.
Don't. Don't.
Wise choice.
No.
But, yeah. So, normally, because of the way that it is mixed, anyone who isn't capable of, eating rocks and drinking sand and stuff is, you're not exactly gonna be finding yourself doing yourself any favors by drinking it, because it'll kind of cut straight through your bodily functions and it, like, immediately gets you hyper drunk, and that's just a small shot's worth of stuff.
Max nods it and files it under "Never touch this ever" in his brain.
I lean over and I say, I had that a few, months ago? Just a
Okay.
sip, it knocked me out. So yeah, maybe not a good idea.
Roto nods as if like that makes sense. That makes complete sense. That's what should happen to non-Gorons when they drink this stuff.
Yeah. Also, like, I'm wondering if I can, like, make a check or something to kind of put my head into, let's just have a good, fun night, instead of think about, well, there's no other way of saying it, daddy issues.
Yeah. Sure. Give me a wisdom save.
A wisdom save.
Yes, please.
Hello. Oh, that's the wrong one. That's a wisdom check. I'm better at wisdom save. I'm better at wisdom saves. That would be an 8.
Okay. So with an 8, it's difficult. It's genuinely difficult because now that you've accomplished this thing that you need to do, like, there is no other thing to do other than to try and go and find Nihilus. But the problem is that, well, considering where he is and what direction he was heading, and the fact that he's gone silent, it's not looking great. So it's like, yeah, you're unable to really get a focus on trying to have a good time.
I really don't want to bring the mood down, but I'm definitely bringing the mood down.
Yeah, but yeah. So, for the most part, after all this has occurred, and you kind of sit and relax a bit with Darunia and Rodo, you have beverages of your choice. Before eventually it gets fairly late and Darunia and Rodo retire to their own respective rooms, and you are left to your own devices for the evening.
Okay.
So who is taking watches? Who's watching when?
I'm definitely taking watch.
Before we go to rest, Hikan would like to address the party, Mara included, with some of the stuff that he found in the Book of Medora. Specifically the spells or anything like with the canes kind of thing.
Okay.
Kind of giving that information out for people who might cast spells that those might be on the spell list for. Or just kind of anything that they might have heard of or hinted at kind of thing. Like, do you know who, like, Someria and Birna and Paki are? And, like Kikon tends to do.
If I am allowed to make a history check on how much I know, because I know some stuff outside of game.
Sure. You could
That
all
would
do
be history
checks if you want to, yeah.
History check. This takes a long time, but that's a 16.
Okay. With the 16, you would know that the three of them were noted mages of a time. But that was a long time ago. A long time ago. Centuries, even. It's entirely possible that
That's like ancient history.
Yeah, this it's possible that their heyday was prior to the Civil War.
Now, we do have a civil war currently, so Like, how
Yeah.
ancient are we talking?
Well, like I said, like it's at the very least going to be a minimum of 500 years.
Okay.
But they existed roughly at the same time.
Okay.
But yeah, you know that Samaria was a very powerful wizard
Mhm.
who focused a bit between either evocation and abjuration magic. Loved his barriers, Samaria did.
He did.
Similarly, Birna was a powerful cleric under the guidance of Nehru, noted by many in possibly mythic fashion that Birna was practically invincible. And then there was Pachi, who was a bit of an odd duck, but most of his stuff was kind of very sort of reversing things. He wouldn't say it was much of a trickster, but he would kind of like simplify magic down to a basic form of function. Like,
All right.
take a thing, change it into something else. It's like a transmutation sort of property. But even then, it's just like the very basic building blocks of magic, which is like his trick was like take a thing, turn it upside down. That's essentially the foundation of most of his spells. But yeah,
You've got something good. Why not just expand on that?
yeah.
So I will give my party that information. Like, that's pretty old stuff. Then I look at the Book of Medora. If like Hikan has shown that, not so much like obviously, but Renji has seen it, correct?
Yes. Hikan's shown it before we. What's the word? Confronted Gorespire.
Right. Yes. In that case, I won't like name drop it, but like that's pretty old. But then again, the book you have it in is pretty old by itself. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, if any of you want to take a look at the magic or something, let me know. If you run into stuff, it might show us where some of this stuff might be. It might make it so that way any kind of flashes briefly the Quake Medallion. It doesn't hurt as much.
I'm trying to think. Have I rolled a save on this book before?
I
No.
don't know.
I don't believe
It's a
so.
check, not a save. But it would have been the same number anyway.
Okay. It's tempting. Real tempting.
It's so tempting.
It's a very shiny book.
You're able to
Add it to your hoard. Add it to your hoard.
Bess is just gonna stare at it.
Through the power of your friendship, maybe you have.
It's like it's technically already in it, right?
Yeah. It is.
But also it's over there.
It is in your hoard by proxy.
You trust your hoard link to keep it safe.
Yeah.
Yes. But also look at it.
I'm gonna roll an insight check real quick.
Go ahead.
And so we descend into PvP.
Nope. Okay, 25.
Yeah,
I think
you get it.
well, you see, it was going to be like if it was over a 15, it would have been like, okay, Hikan slowly closes the book after a bit and puts it away. If it was going to be below a 15, Hikan's going to be like, oh, so you want to take a look at the spells? Here you go, take a look.
And then the book disappears forever.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Oh dear. But yeah. so the 4 spells were Burner's Zone of Armistice, Patchy's Inverted World, Samaria's Exploding Blockade, Grasping Guardian, and Shout.
I am very curious about them. And I would like to check them out sometime, but probably not right now.
Yeah. Well, something
I have
something
some
to
other stuff on
contemplate,
my mind.
possibly on
This is me not hoarding the information.
Thank you.
Okay.
We appreciate this.
Anything else you guys wanted to do or needed to do before rests and watches commence?
I don't have anything in particular.
No.
That's all I wanted to do.
So, you decide to retire for the night. Each of you remaining downstairs within decent proximity of the cart, just to make sure nothing is taken. Thankfully, nothing is. But Renji, after you've finished your watch and decide to go and get some rest, and you lie down in bed in one of the inn beds, you blink twice before you find yourself in the amber tinted realm of twilight. And there's a brief pause before, eerily close, you can hear Renji.
Not in the mood.
Oh, but you have completed your task and made it safely back to dry land. It is time to discuss the methods of your termination of our contract. And we will end the session there. So, yeah. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening / watching. This has been fun. I've missed it, and I'm surprised at the amount of stuff we had. I was prepared for so much more, but we had so much done. So I guess I'm already prepared for next session.
Yay!
Yay!
I love it when that happens. I will admit, I love
That
it
is
when that
great.
happens.
That is good.
Yeah. But yes, I have been Articulate T. I have been the Game Master, and with me today, as always, for the 77th episode of Hyrule Chronicles: Legend of Zelda D&D, I have had Renji Vox being played by the Netherlad.
I am looking forward to next time.
I have had Hikan Sio being played by Avrdal.
Not every day you get to impress the leader of a sovereign people.
I have had Zayden Shari being played by Robopirate.
Hello. Goodbye.
And I have had Max being played by Keistrith.
I just like book.
And we'll see you guys next time. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.